Hi guys, Bokeh Crochet. Today I'm going to show you how I do my poncho pattern, and specifically focused on the last 2 stitches in each row and the first 2 stitches of every new row. So this is also included in picture tutorial that I have in the pattern, as well as the picture tutorial that I have on my website at Bokeh Crochet. And I thought that these picture illustrations were not very clear, so I decided to do a little bit of a video to just go ahead and clear up any confusion between the picture illustrations. Okay, so without wasting time, I'm going to work a little bit of the paired single crochet before I finish the row, so you can see how I'm doing my paired single crochet, and then I include how to do the last 2 stitches and the first 2 stitches. So without wasting time, let's go ahead and get started. All right, as you can see, on a paired single crochet, you always repeat the last stitch. So what I do usually, you just go ahead, insert hook into the last loop that you already worked on, and then you insert hook into the new 2 loops. So you can have 3 loops on the hook, and you draw the yarn through all those 3 loops. Okay, so you insert hook again onto the last loop, 2 loops, and then insert hook into the new 2 loops to have 3 loops. And then, as you can see, it's so easy, it's not that hard to do. So, and that's how you do it all the way to the end of the row. Okay, I think it's a very easy stitch. Even a beginner can be able to work on it. So all you have to do is, like, you just go ahead in the last worked 2 loops, you also go ahead, insert the hook into the same 2 loops. Okay, and then you just go ahead to have 2 loops on the hook, go ahead, insert hook into the next 2 loops to have 3 loops. You draw through all 3 loops. Okay, and okay, so and here now is my focus. So my focus was on this specific stitch. So to work on the last stitch, just go ahead, insert hook into the last 2 loops that you worked on. Okay, and then to get the last 3rd loop, you have to work on, you see these 2 loops right here. You see those 2 loops right there? Okay, those ones. That's where you draw your last loop at. Okay, so as you can see now, I got my 3rd loop. Okay, and then you draw through all 3. So now you finished your row, and as you can see, my row is very nice and very straight. As you can see, this is very neatly done and very straight. Okay, all right, so now let's turn around and work on the next turning row. So to do that, on the turning row, I'm going to show you how I do this, because as in most of my projects, I do not like to make chain, and I do not like to chain on my first stitch. Most people, or most creators will always do that, but personally I do not like to chain. on the first stitch unless and otherwise, but in most cases I do not. And the reason why is because it leaves too much space. That's number one. Number two, I think sometimes you may miss some stitches or you may end up skipping something, so and that's the reason why I just don't like to do that. So for that reason, I always figure out how to work the first stitch. So for me, the first stitch, this is how I work on it. So this working yarn, this one, you leave it on the front of your project. Okay, so don't put it to the back, leave it on the front of your project. So what you do, or if you want, you can leave it at the back, but you have to figure out how to do it. But most of the time I usually leave it at the front. So I usually do this, I leave it at the front, and then I go ahead, insert the hook as usual in this first stitch, and then I pull this working yarn under. But when I pull it, I work under it, see, I make sure I go to the other side of it, see, because when you work on this yarn, it splits the same stitch into two parts. I don't know whether you can be able to see that. Let me do it again. You see what happens once you leave it up here, you insert the hook into these two loops right here, and then you bring the working yarn. Instead of doing it that way, you just do it under. So as you can see, when you're doing it under, you see it's creating this split right here. See that split right here, see that one. So that splits the same stitch into two parts, and it locks it so that it doesn't come out, or it doesn't go through it and make a, you know, undo itself. So it locks it in, as you can see. Okay, so what happens next, on the same stitch, insert hook again and pull through to have 3 loops, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. So now you've made your first stitch. Okay, to work on the next stitch, insert hook, yarn under, and pull through 1 loop to have 2 loops on the hook. Insert hook, pull 1 loop to have 3 loops on the hook, pull through all 3 loops. So now you repeat the same paired single crochet, as you can see. Now you can work on your paired single crochet all the way to the other side. Okay, and that's all I wanted to show you about today's instructions. Okay, so the pattern for this poncho is gonna be up soon, but when I post it, I will let you know, and I will put some updates on my website at Bokeh Crochet, and there will be some picture illustrations on the website as well as in the pattern. But in the pattern, it will be more details than the one that I post on my website. Okay, my website will have just the highlights, but my patterns will have the details, instructions. Okay, so just go ahead and maybe just go ahead and let me know what you think about this stitch. And oh shit, I screwed